So one thing I will say, though, and I think we've done this. Obviously, Donald Trump will use this to run on, and obviously it will mobilize part of the Republican base because they're aggrieved. But the idea that Donald Trump secretly wanted this to happen is insane. This guy has the thinnest skin in maybe like literally the history of human race. And he's freaked out, which is why he had this demented rally, which is why he talked about, I mean, even by Trump standards, going to a state and talking about like a beloved, like local institution and saying the guy is in hell. Point is, he's in his, as Brendan said in the break, he's going to his safe space. He's going to his comfort zone. And for some reason, Donald Trump is obsessed with Tom Cruise, and he is obsessed with generals that supposedly look better than Tom Cruise. We've heard this before.
Generals and pilots, we should say.
Definitely pilots. Sassy Trump is needed, and here he is in his comfort zone.
Missiles, with rockets, with everything. And you know what? Again, we don't want to ever have to use it, but we will never have anything like what's mostly been built. We have the F-35. It's stealth. It's stealth. And I was at one of the areas where they're displaying it, and I went up to the pilots, and honestly, they're better looking than Tom Cruise, okay? Good movie. Good guy, too, by the way.
Good guy.
The face is equal, maybe slightly better. The body's bigger and stronger. They can definitely, he goes like me now. They can definitely fight. They're the real deal. These guys are so good looking. I said, you could be a movie star. Go to Hollywood. No, sir, I like doing what I'm doing. These guys, you got to see it. Just like central casting. I said, fellas, how good is this play? They said, sir, it's great. Why? Because the enemy can't see it.
Equal faces, but even better bodies.
Equal faces, but better bodies.
It's crazy to think that this crowd is also digging it too. They're like, hell yeah, hot pilot.
Is that
I'm
really,
a man's man.
I
vote for Trump.
See, that is funny, and it is hilarious. All of the like super easy subtext that could be pulled out of this if one chose to go in that direction. But like, I don't know, man. I think even this stuff, it just works. You know, this is a political rally that is fun.
Yeah.
I mean, the president of the United States is rambling about the relative physical attributes of like a probably imagined airplane pilots versus Tom Cruise. That's fucking fun.
No, I mean, the reason he continues to do this is because the propaganda value actually is useful to him, because then there's a story about how Trump is like gushing about troops, basically.
Right. That's the other thing. Like that. See, that's so important. I notice another kind of like, for lack of a better term, you know, sort of like left versus liberal thing happens around whether or not you find Trump funny. And Trump is funny. Yeah. Like, sorry, he's funny. I find it a real stretch to claim that the guy cannot be funny, sometimes intentionally, sometimes unintentionally.
I think charisma is a value-neutral term as well.
Charisma is a totally value-neutral term, and it matters a lot as a trait.
Tons of it.
And he is and also a bizarre charisma. Like, you can't fit it. You know, you could mention Obama and Kennedy or whatever. You know, there's a certain way in which you can identify certain types or certain ways. This is weird. He is a weirdo with a bizarre charisma. And I think that, you know, one reaction is to look at it as comedy, which it is. And then the other reaction is that, can you believe? And he's so terrible. He's talking about how people look. Well, he's got an orange face and I hate him and da-da-da-da. What we actually have to start doing, and I really appreciate that Matt did that, is say, what purpose is it serving when he rambles nonsense like that? And by the way, that's irrelevant whether or not we want to say that he's doing it consciously because he's a TV guy and a salesman and a bullshit artist, or that he just happens to be rambling in his stupid brain and it works somehow. That kind of doesn't matter. What matters is that it does work, and I still see too much of that dynamic from 2016 of people being like, oh, can you believe this? And it's like, yeah, believe it. Thousands of people are lapping this stuff up, and he's the president. Is it idiotic? Is it ridiculous? Is it insane? Is it delusional? Is it hilarious? Yes, 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 yes. But what is it doing is what we got to figure out. And at the very least, understand, this is Donald Trump from the same rally. And which one do we have here? Is this him talking about?
You can either do Dingle or the dishwashers. These were less effective.
I think. Let's talk about, I think these were actually good examples of him being kind of rattled. Let's talk about the Dingle one because dishwashers is funny, but let's talk about the Dingle one too, because I thought this was interesting. Maybe it's being overplayed, but I actually thought there was a groan in the crowd amongst some people. So basically, Congressman Dingell, served in Congress, I think at least from the 60s, iconic figure in the state to the extent that we still give politicians that status. His wife is in Congress now. I think she represents the same district. And Trump, of course, being Trump, is hugely pissed off because he did standard protocol, which is he lowered the flags in federal buildings and in Michigan and maybe probably in D.C. He helped use resources to give this guy a proper send off as a iconic and well-respected political figure, and of course he thinks that means that his wife should be voting against impeachment. Here's how that went.
You ever hear of her, Michigan? Debbie Dingell, that's a real beauty. So she calls me up like 8 months ago. Her husband was there a long time. But I didn't give him the B treatment. I didn't give him the C or the D. I could have. Nobody would have, I gave the A+ treatment. Take down the flags. Why are you taking them down? For ex-Congressman Dingell. Oh, okay. Do this, do that, do that. Rotunda, everything. I gave him everything. That's okay. I don't want anything for it. I don't need anything for anything. She calls me up.
Pause it.
It's the nicest thing.
I do love, though, how now it's like he's internalized that talking point. Because I feel like in the beginning it would have been like, people do things for people. You do things for them. They do things for you. That's how I make deals. That's how everything's great. And now like somehow it's kind of actually gotten through where he's just like, I didn't ask for anything. I mean, I do things and then you could do what you want because I don't do that for anything. I don't even ask somebody to bring me a Coke because I do it myself. And if I get somebody a Coke, I don't ask for one either because I just do stuff.
Anything. She calls me up. It's the nicest thing that's ever happened. Thank you so much. John would be so thrilled. He's looking down. He'd be so thrilled. Thank you so much, sir. I said, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Maybe he's looking up. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe. But let's assume he's looking down. But I gave him A+, not A, not B+, not B.
So that a significant chunk of people there groaned at him. I mean, look, I know it's the soft bigotry of low expectations, but okay. There was one leap into pure sociopathy that even some people in his own crowd were not down with. Okay. Cool. That's useful information.
To mock a daughter's
a wife,
a call thanking him for that. Oh, no, it's no problem. Trust me.
Yeah,
no, I mean, he's a sociopath.
Yeah.
I mean, and of course she came out and said, we've been grieving as a family and this does not help. I mean, that is honestly the type of thing when you read a book about like Hitler or somebody and you set aside, I'll just say Hitler or Mussolini or whatever, like, it is actually those types of things that actually end up being like the most Like, oh, really? Like, did the daughter cry when the dad was dragged off? Like, that type of serious, just like, okay, dude, you have no, like, you are not on the map in terms of where you are supposed to be as a fully paid up member of the human race.
You're getting energized by people suffering right now.
Oh, yeah. And also, like, just shout out to John Dingell. I think the last thing he wrote before he passed was endorsing Medicare for all and saying that the Senate needs to be abolished.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
No, John Dingell had a very noble legacy. And, you know, obviously if we will survive, Donald Trump will be a cross between sort of like a cult memory, a giant piece of comedy, and an embarrassment. And speaking of that embarrassment and comedy, here is Donald Trump in his ultimate look. There's a couple of things. Pilots that look better than Tom Cruise, enjoying the human suffering of a widow missing her husband, and this might be number one, building stuff.
Sinks, showers, all of this stuff. I did a lot of it. No water comes out. You have areas where there's so much water you don't know what to do with it. You turn on the shower, you're not allowed to have any water anymore. I mean, we do a lot of it. Dishwashers, did the dishwasher, right? You press it. Remember the dishwasher? You press it, boom, there'd be like an explosion. 5 minutes later, you open it up, the steam pours out, the dishes. Now you press it 12 times. Women tell me, again, you know, they give you 4 drops of water. And they're in places where there's so much water, they don't know what to do with it. So we just came out with a rag on dishwashers. We're going back to you. By the way, by the time they press...
I didn't even catch. Women tell me.
There's so much to all this stuff all the time. You can watch it forever.
By the way, that I have no doubt is intentional. That
Also,
is
like,
definitely a
what-
cue to the audience. Like, because the women I talk to, they know about home appliances.
Yeah, is his thing, is this
Yes.
like whole rant basically, like besides it being like he loves to talk about like home appliances and like what it takes to build like a residency basically, like he loves that stuff. And we've established that he's going to his safe spaces right now. But beyond that, like the policy behind this, is it like
it's
he's going to get rid
privatizing
of like
water.
Energy Star efficient products?
Privatizing water
Yeah.
and getting rid of energy efficiency standards.
That's amazing,
Yeah.
like that, and people.
Absolutely.
It's so
No, I mean,
sad
that's
that
another
people
thing-
cheer that. Like
And
we
but
don't
that's
have the Energy
important-
Star anymore, folks.
Yeah, Energy Star. It's like Mao. But just, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I just want to underline what you're saying, and then I'll go back to you guys. That in a lot of these cases, and see, that's the inverse. We make fun of the troop thing, then it gets reported as he's gushing over the troops, and then other people laugh at the toilet and all of that. And there is a policy set there.
That's the other thing is like I hate to say it, but this is also good propaganda, I think, because it's an issue that is I mean, it's ridiculous. It's lunacy. I haven't been. My water pressure's fine. I don't think there's an epidemic of bad water pressure around the country.
Okay.
Just change your shower head, maybe.
I mean, there's a little bit of one in like Southern California where there actually like is a water shortage crisis.
Right. Yeah. It's not the case where there's like more water than they know what to do with,
Right.
which would be a great
They
problem.
got
to
the
continue
rice
to have.
fields. They got everything. It's all over the place.
But
But Hollywood doesn't want you to have it. They want the cocaine,
It's-
but not you to have their water. See how easy it is?
it's easier to
Very
understand
effective.
than tax advantage savings accounts.
Right. I mean, that's another, or even more, like, Elizabeth Warren. We should have a Fed chair that recognizes that zero unemployment isn't a problem. Yes, absolutely. Good policy initiative. That takes a bit more to understand.
But what you can understand is all that steam coming out of your
Yeah.
dishwasher.
I told Janet
me.
Yellen to fix the
The
dishwasher.
ladies want the steam when they open it, Janet.
The ladies want the steam because I'm a feminist.